Hey everybody, my next guest is a writer, commentator, and stand-up comedian who can be seen regularly on Fox News' Gutfeld show, as well as his own sketch show, That Show Tonight. His latest project, Studio TST, is a streaming service that provides entertainment for the rest of America with a variety of movies, comedies, documentaries, dramas, live sketch comedy, and even more than that. Here he is, folks, the one and only Michael Loftus. How you
What's
doing,
going
sir?
on, Don? Good to see you, man.
Great to see you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while, but it's
It's
always
it
good.
it has it has been a minute. Usually we're always hanging out at the studio. We're filming stuff, we're editing, and then that's all in New York. And then this last show we were in Nashville, and you still have that warrant for your arrest in Nashville,
Yeah,
so you didn't show up.
yeah, I don't lay low. Like it's almost expired. I think
All right. Woo!
I should have the green
Couple
light.
more months. Couple more months. That was fun though. That was a good time.
Yeah,
Uh,
at the Riviera, John Rich's place, you did like a whole special out of there. Tell us
yeah,
about that.
at one point, like way before the show, I came in and I had been there the night before to check on the lighting and a bunch of technical stuff. But I'm in there and I got my guitar and I'm on stage and I'm just kind of tuning it up. And John Rich walks in, freaking superstar, big and rich, John Rich, that guy. And he goes, "Hey, man, tuning a guitar in a honky tonk in Nashville. I bet your mom would be proud." And I'm like, yes, yes, she would. This
It
is
is the
like,
dream. Yeah.
it's one of the highlights of my life. Like, technically playing guitar in a honky tonk in Nashville. It was great. It was a wonderful show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to August 29th and the next one.
Yeah, so August 29th is the next one. Um, yeah, because I was talking to Paul a little bit about that. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. And it's just such a good, it's like the perfect spot. I mean, if you can't do it on Long Island, the next best place it would be Nashville, Tennessee. It's just such a great audience, a great group of people. You there, just the whole vibe, the Redneck Riviera, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting because one of the things like I honestly was setting out to do just in undertaking this one show was like, oh, okay, I want to do funny videos, funny skits. I wanted to do it in front of a live audience, and then I wanted to showcase up and coming musical acts, like legit. Like everybody keeps thinking, oh, does this song have to have a political thing? Or I'm like, no, no, this is it's comedy and music. And our very first musical guest was this guy, Mickey LaMancha, just phenomenal. He's from like New Hampshire, but he's making that transition to Nashville. So doing the shows in Nashville is great for that. Like the musical talent is coming out of the woodwork. I love that whole New York vibe though. I love those New York, nothing against Nashville crowds, but like you get that America First warehouse packed out with like a couple hundred just fun loving good time people. So we gotta find that balance. I love we gotta go back to the main studio, but then also I want to do stuff in Nashville. And then this is when like I love it when like the universe lines up and you start clicking the tumblers. Now that we have Studio TST, I was talking to a buddy yesterday down in Nashville. I'm like, what if we gave you a camera and gave you a crew and you could just do like a best of like the undercurrent. Here's some people who haven't popped yet, or here's some people that you can't believe. Like how did America miss these guys? And let's do like 8 episodes of that. He's like, man, I know exactly where to film it. I know what night to film it. I know the talent. So
That's
we
huge.
can do that with Studio TST. Go back to the warehouse, do the sketch show, feature great movies like your film and the Bernie Sanders movie. I was talking to a bunch of documentary filmmakers. It's wild, dude. It is wild.
Man, I tell you that there's so many possibilities and opportunities with Studio TST, and I think it's an amazing undertaking that you've done with this, and it looks great. It's all coming to fruition. Take me through, like, when did this spark come into your mind that said, I want to have my own streaming service?
It really evolved, and because I can be slow. I can be slow at times. That's like, never mind. I get with a lot of things I can be slow. But like, I had been approached a couple different times to do like a Saturday Night Live type of show, like be the showrunner, be in it, shepherd it along, and things always got in the way. There was always something else, and yay hooray. So during the lockdowns, that I started entertaining the notion a little bit more, and then I met Joe and everybody at the America First Warehouse, and things just started kind of like happening. So we were doing quite a few episodes of that show tonight, and I was just so focused on I really want this to be funny. This is all it was myopic. It was like wearing blinders. I just want this to be funny and be the best that it can be, and that's challenge enough. And because we had to have our own servers, like I was around when these guys started an app to compete with Twitter. This is back before Elon Musk had Twitter, because
Right,
everybody
yeah.
suspected, everybody knew they were being censored. Right? You're being censored on Facebook. You're being across all platforms. So these guys started this platform to compete with Twitter called Parler.
A new social media app has caught the attention of some high-profile conservative figures. The app, called either Parler or Parlay, depending on how you pronounce it, currently hosts 100,000 users, but the president's campaign manager has been pushing Trump to join.
And it was really getting popular really fast. And then Amazon just unplugged it. They're like,
Yeah.
we don't like what you're saying. We think it's dangerous, and they unplugged it.
Parler, the app that has become popular among many supporters of President Trump, has been cut off. Apple and Google removed Parler from their app stores for failing to moderate content that incites violence. And Amazon says it is removing the app from its web hosting service for violating its terms of service.
So who would
Crazy.
have thought, like in all my years in writing TV shows in Hollywood and blah, blah, I never thought, okay, step one when you're writing a comedy show, get your own servers.
Exactly. In the new era,
But
yeah,
that's what we had to do.
right.
So we're writing the show, we're filming it. We have to have our own servers, we have to have our own website, all of this stuff, all this like background, but you have to do it. So we had done like quite a few episodes of that show tonight. When it occurred to me, I'm like, wait a second. We have our own servers, we have enough storage. I know people who are making great content and they don't have a place to put it. We have ideas for other shows. Holy crap. Holy, and then it was seriously, it was like a eureka moment. And then ever since then, it's like it's all consuming. I'm just like, that's a TV show. That should be a show, and we could put it on Studio TST. I'd love to do a stand-up special with that guy. What about and you just see it everywhere. Once you start seeing the trees, you just realize that you're in the forest, you know? I can't just like tell you this stuff. Now instead of a poke, you're getting a smack. What have I done? She bought the tea!
I'm pretty sure I'm a woman.
No, you're not, Steve. Oh! Oh!
That's awesome, and that's well said, and I think I think it's so powerful to kind of take it all into your own hands, where you control it. You're kind of uncancelable in a sense, where and where you could do, basically you have the freedom to do what you want. You not really have to answer to any suit and ties or anything like that. And you can
Yeah.
push out, and to your point, when you start seeing all these opportunities and all these, and your vision starts to really take place in everything, where you want to do comedy specials, you want to do this. There's nothing off the table. There's nothing out of bounds. It all can
Yes.
happen. You're making
And
it happen.
it's really just like like pure entertainment, like no woke, meaning like if someone comes to me and they're like, "Oh, I've got this wonderful series and I just need a place to put it." Okay, I'm not gonna give you notes. I'm like, "Ooh, we're gonna have to lose that scene with this guy and that guy because people have no, let's just if I want to have there's a lot of creative people, and because of the way they vote and the way they think of their philosophy about politics and life, and they don't have a place to go. And so it's wild to watch all these super talented people just beat themselves up. They're like, "Oh, I made this great movie, but Netflix won't even take a meeting. Amazon won't even take a meeting." Okay, so now you have a great movie and nowhere to go. Come over to Studio TST.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's really that simple. It's crazy.
I think it's awesome, and it's a breath of fresh air for a lot of people too. A lot of creatives that might not fit into the status quo, that want to tell different types of stories or different types of comedy that might not be in vogue or whatever. And I think
Yeah.
it's good to kind of have, an outlet such as that. I also love that you kind of even went back to the like these Rascals archives from the Rascals Comedy Club, and you've uncovered uh, gold of some of these comedians in their early days.
My next act is from Boston. He's a favorite at women's prisons. Please welcome Joe Rogan. Come on, let's hear it go. What's up?
It's awesome. It's so much fun to watch that. Uh, I've always been as a comic, it fascinates me, but it's always wild when you watch someone like before all the tumblers click. They're super funny, but the rest of the world hasn't experienced it yet. Like we've got a young buck Jim Brewer, like coming. I think this is like right after he got Saturday Night Live. We got Joe Rogan, Ray Romano. I think it's before Everybody Loves Raymond. It's like right before everybody just popped, and so they're funny as shit, dude. And it's like we have it's like murderers row of stand-up comics, and some of the funniest people, like there's only room for so many people at the table, especially back in the day, in the 90s and before the internet went crazy and TikTok and all this stuff. You had room for like a handful of comics on television, and
Right,
everybody
yeah.
else had to go tough it out on the road. There you go. Sorry it didn't happen, but boy, it's great watching these guys act. And there's so many dudes that like I remember like when I was starting and like uh, John Mendoza. There's a
Oh,
dude named John Mendoza who's just hilarious. And they tried. He came really close a few times. The dude just kills me, man.
I don't make a good tourist. I mean, it's just people come up. This guy came up to me and said, "Hey, man, would you take a picture of me and my family?" I said, "No. You're ugly. And tell your wife to get that duck hat off your head, too, okay?"
he's an awesome comic legend. I would say maybe
Yeah.
comic type of guy. But like you said, I think they gave him a sitcom at one point. He had like a taste of the sitcom world, but
Yeah.
I can't remember it too much, but if it was in an airline or something, I forget exactly.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, so it's so great to see that kind of stuff too. So like, I just love everything about it. Now, when is Studio TST officially launching, or has it officially launched yet?
We're up. We're up. We just put out the press release like a couple days ago. We're getting some stuff back in. I'm doing podcasts, trying to promote it as much as I can. I'm getting ready to go do Gutfeld. That's a little weird. I don't know if I can go on that show. It's and like it's like going to a restaurant and talking about how great your cooking is.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I know you guys have Fox Nation, but have you thought about Studio TST? But to me, it's very cool because it's like apples and oranges. Like Fox Nation, they've carved out this really awesome niche where they have their host doing shows, and like Katie Pavlich is like, these are the best hunting lodges in the world, and this is
Right.
the American experience. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I wish I'm not. I did a stand-up special for those guys.
Yeah, this is great.
But this is like, I want to go. This is just movies. This is just this. It's just comedy. It's music. It's just there's all I can promise you is there won't be a woke message. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I love all the stuff you got on there so far, and I know you're continuously growing with it. People got to go on there and just check it out. It's a lot of great stuff on there, and I do love that. Kind of one of the mantras is it's entertainment for the rest of America, and I
Yeah,
and I love that the rest of America, because there is a portion of Americans that aren't being entertained or targeted. They're not the target audience.
it's right. And like uh I had some experiences in Hollywood that were very eye-opening. And that's what kind of nudged me to become more public. And because I was like, the belief is this. The public perception is this. Hollywood will keep offering up woke stuff until it hurts them financially, and then they'll stop.
Right.
That's just not the case. It's just not the case. Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, they show no signs of stopping. They're just going to keep doing it until every person in America is infected with their woke mind virus. And then this crap makes perfect sense. I'm a Star Wars fan. I tried to watch that new show, The Acolyte.
Yeah.
I made it through 3 episodes where I'm literally like, as a writer, my head is exploding. As a Star Wars fan, my head is exploding. And as someone who just doesn't dig propaganda, my head is exploding. And I'm like, certainly they'll stop now. No, they're still going strong. So it's it's past time for a Studio TST. And listen, dude, when we started doing subscriptions for that show tonight, we're like $5, $5 a month. That's way less than a night out at a comedy club. A comedy
Right. Yeah.
like I'll be at the Milwaukee Improv. I think it's like $40 a ticket. Give me $5 a month. And so now we're doing the movies, the stand-up, the music, the doc, all of it, and it's still $5 a month. So you have to start somewhere. Am I going to be able to green light the next Lord of the Rings? No, not
Not
this
yet.
year.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? In 20 years, you never know.
Look at Netflix, or companies like that started, relatively small and then blew up and became the Netflix we know today. You
Yeah,
could be onto a new revolution because, to your point about Disney and a lot of the other channels, they're not budging on their course. Like you said, and I remember talking to you about this a while ago, and you said it's not about the money for them. It's about pushing this propaganda on us, because if
yes,
it was about the money, you just said it, they would have fell off already. They would have changed gears. But no, they're
yeah.
staying on this, and it's kind of scary in a way that they're so persistent. Like, what's the end game to get us all to fall in line?
That is the great question. That's the great question. What is the end game? What happens then? How does this make anybody's life better? So I don't like it. I'm like, the world of entertainment was working pretty well since they started recording audio back in like 1890, and then radio was invented by Nikolai Tesla. That's
Yes,
the way
indeed.
Dad did it. That's the way we do it. That's the way America does it. When we started Studio TST, they said we could never compete with the big boys. You'll never be Netflix or Amazon. Well, we didn't listen, because you know what they are? They are Debbie Downers. We do things our own way, our own servers, our own original entertainment. That's how Dad did it. That's how we do it. That's how America does it. So do yourself a favor. Go to studiotst.com and subscribe today. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the streaming service that loves you back.
Yes. But yeah, it's great to see, all this stuff happening that you've talked about, and now here we go. Studio TST is off and running. That show tonight is doing great things. Like you said, it's doing well in Nashville. It's kicking butt over there,
Yeah.
and still cooking over here. I loved working with you guys and the whole team. And a lot of the improv stuff that you do now, this goes back. You've been in improv. I mean, you've had such a incredible career, all these different types of things that you've achieved. But it kind of all goes back to like the Midwest Comedy Tool and Die comedy group.
Yeah. I went to an open mic night in Columbus, Ohio, and was like shocked at just the level of talent. Like, these people were horrible, and they were on stage for 2 minutes. And I think at the end of the night, somebody won $200 because they were the best. And I'm like, I gotta do that. I have to. So, long story short, it was a train wreck. It was a train. It was a crash and burn train wreck. But because I was floundering, that was probably the funniest part. Was me to that. This girl was putting together an improv group, and she's like, you know what? I think you might be good at improv. So I was like, I needed some success from that night because it was so horrifically bad. I'm like, yeah, improv, that sounds good. So I agreed. And then we started like workshopping these games. And then I went back and, did stand up again. It went much, much better. And then just really fell in love with improvisation and sketch comedy and being in the moment. And improv gets a bad name. It has a bad reputation. However, when it's done by people who love it as well and really embrace it and are really trying, comics are not good at it mostly because they're so like the rule for improvisation. And I was talking to Jeff Dye about this. The rule for improvisation is if somebody walks into a room and it's like, I only have a few minutes, I'm a talking shark and I'm running out of water. You agree with them. You go, oh my goodness, you shark, let's get you in the tub, and now you're off to the race. So it's yes and. And the rule for stand-up is no, but.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks getting that injection is good. No way, man. My buddy got it, but his heart exploded. He was like, burr! So when you get comedians trying to do it, there's a bit of a disconnect in the circuitry.
No, that's a great point. I never really put that together like that. Yeah. So, because I always knew that improv was always yes, you always take it on and roll with it and then move it forward. But yeah, the comedy is more of a no, but.
Yeah. You think you're smart? No. You think you want to get married? No. I thought I could cook? No. It's all negative.
It is. That's crazy. If you just brought that to life. Yeah, that's where the comic finds the jokes, is in the no, but this. Yeah, it's always the other.
You think this? Nah. Here's what's going on.
And once you put the ring on, man, oh, that's it. That's it. We don't fight right at all, My wife, your wife will say some crazy stuff, really, truly insane. And your brain will be like, ooh, say this. You shut the hell up. Your birthday's right around the corner.
And how is now you are do great at both. You're very successful in both mediums, but doing improv because I've seen you do improv. It's awesome and very inspiring. And then I seen you do stand up, and it's freaking great. How do you draw the lines in your head of the no buts and the yes?
It's weird. It's just you try to like embrace like where you are. Like, what am I doing? This was funny. I remember I was writing on the George Lopez show, the sitcom, and I'd never written on a show before. George saw me at a club, and he's like, "Come on over here." And so I kept very quiet. I had a lot to learn, you know?
Right.
And it was like they'd go, "Okay, so we need a joke here." Okay. So then I'd start like pitching. So that's kind of how it was. I was in like writer mode, and it's like its own puzzle, like writing a script and stuff like that. So it was the last year of the show. We didn't think we were going to be renewed. And so I finally started telling people, "Hey, I'm doing a show." And I had the biggest. I had kind of a crush on Constance Marie, who played George's wife. She was a backup dancer for David Bowie. Absolute smoke show.
Wow. Yeah.
So she's like, "I'm gonna come see you at the Ice House this weekend." I'm like, "Oh, let's go." She brought her husband.
Oh man.
What a drag. So anyway, she had never seen me like in stand-up mode. So like after the show, she's like, "Oh my God, you're so funny." She goes, "Why did you never do that on the show?" I'm like, "Bitch, I did it every day.
Yeah.
Why do you think we're still here?"
I've gone through that too, like where I hold back because to your point where I want to because I guess sometimes I have to, like when I worked for the New York Rangers for a very short time, and when I went in there, I was already established, but I went in there as the new guy, and so I just stayed quiet, and I think that ultimately hurt me. But sometimes you think sometimes you can give it too much respect, like with the George Lopez show, you give it too much respect, or you give it too, where you could have, like for me, I feel like I gave the New York Rangers too much respect, where I was timid or something.
It's a weird thing. Especially in like Hollywood is its own thing. I can't imagine what the world of like sports and professional sports is like. That's its own, different kettle of fish. I'm always bored by uh people who can't stop like tooting their own horn. I'm very bored by braggadocious people. I'm very bored by comedians who can't turn it off.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's there's the Hermosa Beach Comedy and Magic Club, one of the best comedy clubs in the country. They've been doing stand up there for the longest time. It's just fantastic. And in July, they do their birthday shows. That's the anniversary of the club opening. So they'll have like 25 comics on a night, just one after the other. Everybody, and you never know who's going to be there. Like it'll be like God rest his soul. It's like, okay, so Michael, you'll go up, then you introduce Gary Shandling. Shandling will introduce Seinfeld, and then this
Wow.
guy will introduce Arsenio Hall, and then this guy will, and it's just freaking murderers row.
Yeah.
So the green room is always stacked, and you'd always have like some douchey comic who's like, "Hey, boy, parking was a drag. I tell you," blah, blah, blah," and
Right.
like, shut up. Like, stop. Do you think you're going to be funnier than Jerry?
Right.
And he's not even trying.
Right. Yeah. I never understood that those guys and there's quite a few they're just always on,
Yes.
and they don't know how to just, it's like just lower it down a notch, man.
Right. And then, like, you're hanging out with some other comic, and he's just like, "Dude, it's horrible. We found these four kittens, and me and we were staying up all night trying to nurse them back to health. And then this one, it was like coughing, and we didn't know. And you're like, oh, and then some douche comes in. "Hey, talking about dead cats. I tell you, man." You just want to punch him.
Oh man, it's so true. It's so true, man. It's and they never get it. They're the last to realize that they do that. Like
No.
they
And
think they're
and then conversely, you have like that really there's another irritating personality that's all over the entertainment business. The guy who's like the total and complete suck up. Remember the in Die Hard, there was the guy who looked like Gavin Newsom doing cocaine. He's like,
yeah,
Hans, buddy, let's go. Like that guy. There's
yeah.
that guy is still to this day in Hollywood. That dude, that type is everywhere. And you're like, okay, everyone can see through this. Everyone. And that dude is still super successful. Super
Yeah.
successful.
That
Hey, listen, Bob, love what you're doing with Star Wars, The Acolyte. Boy, tough break there. I guess the audience is racist. What happened to Star Wars fans? Are they homophobic or what?
they just don't get it, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
weird.
old fashioned. It's sad, really. That was beautiful. Listen, we got to have lunch. We got to do lunch. I love those shoes. You look sexy. No homo.
Same people everywhere. I think every green room
Yes.
has the same characters. Every office has the same characters. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah.
but I do believe we're living in the best times. It's a great time to be alive because there's so
It,
many crazy things happening right now. We're witnessing it.
yes. I just saw on X, what they're calling the Twitter now. I just saw a guy in a Mexican restaurant put a funnel in his girl's butt, and he was gonna drink beer out of her butthole. These are the best times to be alive.
These are the best times to
This,
be alive,
this,
man. Not only
now
would you never have
in
seen that 20 years ago, but
right
now
in the
everybody
in days of yore, you would talk to a friend who saw it at a buddy's house and
right.
try to borrow the tape. You'd have to call them up. You'd have to act like whatever. Now I'm just scrolling by. Hey, there it is. I'm looking for what Joe Biden do today. Ooh, what did they say? Ooh, this is Nancy Pelosi. Ooh, they're gonna pass this bill. Hey, here's a guy at La Fiesta just ordered a Butt Light. That's a time saver. That's a time saver, Don.
You get it all. You get everything in one shot, one stop shop.
Right.
You know, just everything you wanted. And you didn't even know you wanted it.
Finally, this whole internet promise pays off.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh man, I just saw today. Elon Musk posted something about. He's like, so I guess there's a place. If I read this correctly, I just read it real fast. That there's a place called Dildo Canada, and
Oh yeah.
and right outside Dildo Canada, a big iceberg, phallic shaped iceberg, popped up and then went back down.
Yes.
And Elon was like, he thinks that the gods are messaging us somehow.
Yeah, it's funny. Elon Musk could like tweet a picture of his thumb and get 1 million likes. But that one actually went by the Twitter feed. You're like, is that photoshopped? But it's like a big like iceberg dick floating
Yeah.
around. And then the caption of is like this really happened. And you're like, what? I gotta read this. It's floating to Dildo Canada.
Yeah, right. It's like it's that kind of stuff where you're like, what do they say? We're living in a
The end of days.
yeah, the end of days. This is like simulation theory. That we're all living in
Yeah.
a sim, and that's what Elon said in the thing. He's like our simulators are laughing at us or something like that. It was-
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely some somebody is coding in some weird stuff. Have you been following this Bouvet Island thing at all?
no, what's going on with that? I've heard a
Oh,
little bit about it.
In the chilling, unforgiving waters of the South Atlantic lies a desolate speck. Bouvet Island, Norway's loneliest outpost. A frozen wasteland with no shelter, no food, no warmth. Only the bravest or most desperate dare venture to this icy hell. Here, survival isn't a game, it's a brutal battle against Mother Nature.
you've heard of Bouvet. Okay, so I just found out about this because I do my own podcast. It's the Loftus Party, and everybody needs to go listen after they're done
Yes.
subscribing to Studio TST. But for real though, subscribe to Studio TST because
Yes.
that's how we're gonna grow faster and give the green light to more shows. But it was
Yeah.
weird. I was when the eclipse was happening, there was a couple of other really, really odd things were happening on the same day. And so I started talking about that. Like they were doing that particle collider thing, and like, really? Yet you could only do that during the eclipse? What's up with that? And
Oh
then
yeah.
NASA launched a couple of rockets, and you're like, why is NASA launching rockets? And they're like, we got to study the atmosphere, and we can only do this in the darkness of the. Really? You can't do that? I don't know, at night?
Right.
Any night? So
That's
I was
yeah.
doing a follow up to that because like nothing happened. And then this weird satellite imagery, it like shows the whole globe. And like down here is Antarctica. And out of nowhere, this big black blob just comes, just like exploding out like a giant cloud. And everybody on the internet is like, what the hell is that? And then the people who ran the National Ocean Atmospheric, like, oh, that was a glitch. That was a glitch on the satellite. Well, a couple days later, the glitch was back doing other weird stuff, and they're going, oh yeah, it's that glitch, it's that glitch. Well, it turns out there's a landmass that is hidden on most like Google imagery, and it's this place called Bouvet Island. And you're like, what the hell? Half the time it's there, half the time it's not. And
What?
these weird like anomalies keep coming out of like Bouvet Island, like these weird weather patterns and clouds spinning stuff. And so yeah, there's a lot of like what's going
I got
on?
it. So this is right outside of Antarctica, is the Bouvet
Yeah,
Island?
it's just like it's like due north of Antarctica. And all these weird weather patterns, they just started Bouvet Island.
Wow.
And you're like, who is on Bouvet Island? Turns out it's owned by Norway.
So
That's what
no,
happens when you put in a bid for Hawaii, but you get beat by America. You got to go to your second, which is, oh, I guess I'll take that shithole island off the coast of Antarctica.
yeah, the one that can't nobody can live on, a Bouvet Island. Yeah, man.
Bouvet. It's I love it, dude. I love the conspiracy stuff. I love the what the hell's going on.
I feel like now more than ever, I think it's because there's so much more information coming and going for better for worse. But what's real and what's not real. But I feel like there's so many conspiracies that we're finding out to be true, so that leads you to
Yes.
believe the other ones. Like you know what I mean? It starts like you say, hey, well, if that's now known we know is true, then what about this one? And
And that's why you need a media you can rely on because that's really what happened is like everybody was asleep at the switch. They're like, oh, that's Walter Cronkite. He was in World War II. He'd never lie to us.
right,
And there
yeah,
was like journalistic integrity. And then somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s, when that whole World War II generation, when those guys tapped out and retired, the new guard took over and they're like, you know what, we're going to start putting a little bit of spin on this to make that guy look bad and to make our guy look good. And with like Nixon, it was over the top.
that's when it all. That's to me when I think it really changes when those reporters, what are their names again? The two
Woodward and Bernstein.
Word, those guys changed the game forever in a way that's good and bad. But I think everyone's trying to be the next them, and headhunting who they want,
Have you been down that conspiracy theory?
not yet. So the one about the
Okay,
whole
so a bunch of the guys, and this goes like to like who's really in charge and the deep state and all this stuff, and all those plumber guys, the guys who actually did the crime, breaking in. A bunch of those guys were intelligence agents. They were
right,
all
yeah,
like CIA spooks. Bob Woodward was naval intelligence. So he gets out of naval intelligence and he goes, I'm going to be a writer So he goes and he applies to the New York Post. It's his first job. Really? Really? And what's his first story? The Watergate story. What luck. What luck.
See, yeah, man. It's crazy, and if you look, like I remember talking to my dad, like when I was a little kid, and he actually told me, he's like, people used to love Nixon, and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he won in a landslide, and they actually, people loved him, but
Yeah.
now we only remember him in this way because it's the way history tells the tale, and it makes you, the I guess, the winner goes, the spoils, and all
Yeah.
that stuff, but it makes you wonder how history is going to be written for what we're going through.
Well, that's the wonderful, exciting time, and that's like why it is still the old west. A lot of people sit around and they go, "Oh yeah, well if it was 1920, you could go out to California and you could buy a plot of land and you could start a movie studio, but here we are." Dude, I'm when I was a kid and made my first like stop motion animated film, I had to go buy film and had to light a set and do this. And then you had to shoot it. Then you had to get that film developed. And then you had to edit and like legit. You can do all this shit on your phone now. It like
Yeah.
you were saying this earlier. This is the golden age. And if you just like, and that's why like really with Studio TST, I'm like, screw it. We're just gonna plant our flag and just start growing. Because yeah, it's wild. I think it's a Norm Macdonald joke where he's like, yeah, I was looking at all the wars in history, all the wars in history. Turns out they were all won by the good guys.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
So true, man.
Right?
Uh,
I found this out. Napoleon wasn't short.
really?
Yeah, they just wanted to dick him. They hated that guy. They totally Donald Trumped him. Instead of orange man bad, it was short man bad. Oh,
Wow.
short man bad, make France great again.
That's crazy. See that? That's what I'm saying. Like they could twist everything around in the history and
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
geez, it makes
It's
you
wild. Tucker Carlson has some great videos on Nixon and like this is the thing that I find the other thing that I find exciting. If you are being intellectually honest with yourself and you're like, I really want to find out what's going on. I'm really on a search for truth. I need some answers to some shit. If you are genuine in that endeavor, you're going to be on my side of the ball. You just can't escape it. It'll have it's happening to people all over the place right now who are shocked and horrified. They're seeing all these like pro Hamas rallies, and these people are like, whoa, whoa, what the hell's well, welcome aboard.
right.
Welcome
Right.
aboard.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it takes some of it takes longer than others. That's why I said for a lot of comedians, like if you even like the Bill Maher's of the world and those types, they become more on our side now, or feels like they are, because it becomes the bullshit meter that a lot of comedians have is in full
Yeah.
force, and it becomes common sense versus lunacy. And
Yes.
I think that's where we're starting to see, you know, this kind of unity happening in certain topics.
Yeah, and it's like there's a great American mind, that Thomas Sowell guy, economist. And he has a quote that I really, really love, where he's like, don't judge uh, don't judge a program for its intent. Judge it by its results. And like I love that because you talk about, oh, I want smaller government. I want smaller government. People are like, I don't know. I kind of think single moms might need some help. I'm not talking. I'm not. No one's knocking food out of a kid's hand. I'm saying we can do this better. We can help people, and we can do it in a better way. And if you look at like how many billions of dollars Gavin Newsom has wasted over the past decade saying, "Oh, we're going to solve homelessness. We're going to solve homelessness." That dude's out 12 billion bucks. He could have given every homeless person in California like I think it's like $200,000 a year every year, and he still would be way lower than what he spent.
And there would be nobody, and then there would be a lot less homeless on the streets because right now he's like, I mean, it's crazy over there. I mean, in LA.
So then, yes, so then you're like, wow, if he solved it, he wouldn't be making all that money. And that's when you have these aha moments of like, oh, do they want people to be poor? Click, 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 click.
Do you acknowledge, Governor, is your administration doing enough to determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent? And do you worry? I'm curious. Do you worry that the appetite is souring among the public for spending more, given the lack of progress that's happening?
No, I appreciate the question and the frame. It's the right question. It's one I ask myself all the time.
Yep, it's good for business.
Yes, it's
They don't-
wild. Yeah,
they don't want to solve it.
Once you start monetizing people's suffering, it's terrifying. I remember when they tried to privatize prisons, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
Right,
no.
yeah.
we can't have people franchising prisons,
that would be nuts.
right? Especially if McDonald's did it. Now that's a skit right there. We got to film that.
gotta
McDonald's franchising, like Grimace walks you in. There's the Hamburglar.
There you go. We gotta write that up. That's a good one. Hoping we get to do some sketches again soon. I know we got the one
we
in
will.
Nashville coming up. Before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple things for the future. So
Yes.
This would be like the future for blank. So I'm gonna go through a list. Okay.
Okay.
So this is one that's near and dear to you, I think, because we did that great sketch on it. But what is the future for Alec Baldwin?
It is bright. Alec Baldwin will continue to work with and I don't think it was his fault. Granted, he should have checked that gun, but ultimately that's whoever hands the actor the gun, that's their fault.
And she's already gotten convicted for it, I think, right?
Yeah.
The girl did that. All that
Hollywood will rally around Alec Baldwin.
stuff. All right. The future for Fauci.
Fauci, once again, the future is bright. He will survive. He will be reviled, just in the same way he was reviled by the gay community back in the days of AIDS.
Yeah.
They were like, that guy is the worst. He's the worst. Well, here he goes again. He'll just slowly step out of the limelight and retire and sleep on giant piles of money.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
Future for Hunter.
I think that one's bleak. That one's bleak. He's Joe's gonna tap out. I'd say Hunter is at the White House like every night now, and everybody's like, what is Hunter doing there? He's not qualified. I'm like, I'll tell you what he's doing there. He's like, pardon me, Dad. Pardon me. Pardon me tonight. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's just get it out of the way tonight. Then you're done with it. You can go back to bed.
There's another sketch.
Yeah.
I got a few more here. Future for Jill Biden.
Oh, she'll be a hero. She'll be a hero to the left. She was so brave. She was holding it all together. Even in Joe's darkest days, she put on a brave face. And Dr. Jill, and you should read her new book and get her new line of sundresses that are also matching your Aunt Edna's pouch that she passes out on. Yeah. They'll elevate her. They'll try to. She's already on the cover of all the magazines. We legitimately had a model for a first lady, and those petty little bitches wouldn't put her on a magazine cover. But oh, Dr. Jill, yeah, she knows how the game is played.
Oh man, the future for America.
Very bright. Very bright. There are going to be some massive growing pains. There's going to be some seismic shifts. But as the parallel economy keeps coming to light, companies then, like we were talking earlier about, like, if you have a big pile of money, you can keep going as long as you want. But when the future of the entire enterprise comes into play, that's when you make changes. And as you know, as Studio TST grows and other outlets are doing things, and like John Rich has partnered up with some guys, they have their own bank. So it's like, okay, we've got banking, we've got entertainment, we're making content. The Elon Musks of the world are doing satellites and making the rockets, and so it'll be like America's going to turn into like the Tractor Supply Company when they realize, like, oh shit, this is going to be game over. We have to change.
Nice. And finally, the future for Michael Loftus.
Well, I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty great. Because of Studio TST and being involved with people like you and getting like your film, which makes me laugh. I think it's fantastic. Having
thanks.
that on the platform. And that's one for the Smithsonian right there. Because like I want to know, what was the first, you know, because like when a newspaper started, what was their first headline? I want kids in the future to be scrolling back through their mental templates, going, what was the first round of programming on Studio TST when they first came out in July of 24? I want us to be a Trivial Pursuit question in the year 3000.
Hey, this is exciting times, man, and I'm proud to be a part of it all with you, Michael. Thank you so much for keeping me in the circle with you on this, because this is amazing what you're doing. You know, it's very inspiring what you're doing, not only as a performer and as a writer and a creator, but also that your vision and your vision for everything that you do. So, God bless you, my friend.
Well, thank you. God bless you, and we'll just keep going. We'll just keep going. They can't stop us. We have our own servers.
Yes, sir. The Studio TST. Everybody check it out at studiotst.com. Go there, subscribe now. And Michael, tell everybody else where they could find you, follow you, catch you live.
The Loftus Party. Go to theloftusparty.com. Everything is there. There's a podcast, there's a YouTube channel, there's dinner, there's drinks, there's a lack of pants, there's plenty of Bud Light and funnels.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michael Loftus, everybody.
Have a good one.